Hello, so I'll try not to make this one too long because it is late here. Um, there's a story that's circulating the internet now about a terrible incident that happened yesterday in Mexico, and basically two innocent men were burnt to death by a mob. So I'm not going to read out the whole BBC report, but just the basics, and I'll put a link to the report. Um, Actually, the report states August 29th, so maybe it's only being reported now, I don't know. But anyway, it was recently. So basically, this small town in Mexico, a town by the name of Acatlan in Puebla State, um, there had been rumors spread on WhatsApp that a gang of child kidnappers had been passing through the town. Now, there was a young man, 21-year-old Ricardo Flores, and his uncle Alberto Flores, 43, who was a farmer. They were arrested in the town for a breach of the peace, but they were actually totally innocent. They were arrested what seems to be for their own safety because locals accosted them. Now, the police station, the police pleaded with the gathering mob outside that they were arrested for minor offences. But clearly, this mob, which numbered at least 100 people, had gotten into their heads that they were the child kidnappers. Whether there was even child kidnapping going on, I don't think there's even any evidence that that was the case. But it's a very, very emotive subject. Anyway, things got out of hand, and it says here that the crowd was whipped up by one Francisco Martinez, a longtime resident of Acatlan, known as El Tecunito. According to police, Martinez was among those who spread messages on Facebook and WhatsApp accusing Ricardo and Alberto. Outside the police station, he began to live stream events on Facebook via his phone. People of Acatlan de Osorio, Puebla, please come, give your support, he said to the camera. Believe me, the kidnappers are here now. So this guy was, whether it was from some sort of personal issue he had with them, whether he genuinely believed it, I don't know. But I hope he faces severe punishment for this because he's got the blood of two innocent men on his hands now, along with the rest of the mob. Um, Apparently, another man used a loudspeaker. Petronilo Castellon, known as El Paisa, used a loudspeaker to call on the citizens to contribute money to buy petrol to set the two men on fire. Well, things got out of hand, and I'm not going to read out the whole report, but that's what happened. I've heard of other similar cases in Latin America, but the truth is, nowhere in the world is entirely immune from this. It may happen more in developing countries where education is not so high, but that's not necessarily, uh, a unique providence of developing countries. We've had cases in the UK where people have been falsely accused of being paedophiles and they were attacked. My whole life, I found mob mentality to be one of the most terrifying things there is. I find the idea of mob mentality far more terrifying than some stranger in a house with a knife. Because one individual you can maybe take on, but a mob, doesn't matter how physically strong you are, no one can fight a mob. So I find that utterly terrifying, to be quite honest. And it's a seizure of all rationality, particularly with something that is emotive like safety of children. Rape is a big one as well, but particularly the safety of children, because people understandably get very angry if they think that children have been hurt. But the thing here is that people are they become animalistic because they believe something or they want to believe something, whether or not there's evidence for it. Now, I hope the authorities severely prosecute the ringleaders of this because they're murderers. Mob leaders are murderers and they should be seen as such. Um, and I hope everyone that was responsible is absolutely shamed with guilt for what they have done. These are two innocent men who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And there's been many examples all over the world. It's a terrifying thing, actually. What's the lesson from it? Well, I think ignorant people will always resort to this sort of measure, but it's down to authorities to have rule of law. Um, and it's just, I think it also shows how social media can be toxic. How, and we've seen this many times, how you get a story spreading like wildfire through social media. And this is why I'm wary, and it's not exactly the same situation, but this is why I'm wary of looking at video footage of something and jumping to conclusions when we only see part of, for example, an argument. Um, Sometimes it's nationalistic. You get parts of the world that are very homogenous, and if for example, a foreigner is involved in an exchange with people, then there tends to be a sort of nationalistic backlash. Um, and it's a very, very ugly thing. It's one of the ugliest aspects of human nature, and it's incredibly cowardly as well because people get rid of their own responsibility and they just follow the mob. It's disgusting. Now, I'm not saying that I'm above being angry at injustice and feeling very angry at certain issues, but we all have to have a responsibility to rationalize and to act in a responsible way. So, all I can hope from this case is that the ringleaders are severely punished because they're murderers. They should be jailed as murderers. And furthermore, the authorities need to make it clear that these men were innocent and they were victims of mob mentality. Well, that's apparently what's happened because it's been reported now, but it's. I'm just looking here at a photo of the one of the victims, Ricardo, as a baby, and this young guy died at the age of 21. His uncle was only 43. Two innocent men who didn't need to die. Um, it's reminiscent of the old eerie lynching photos from the American Deep South, when particularly black victims, but there were also white and Asian and Hispanic victims as well, were just lynched from hearsay. Of course, there was no social media back in the 20s and 30s, but in those days it was often yellow journalism that stoked it up. Today, social media very often stokes these things up, and it shows it can be toxic. Um, Everyone has responsibility, and I think this is why the rule of law is so very important as a matter of infrastructure, whether in a democracy or a totalitarian state. Rule of law is one of the hallmarks of civilization. It has to be.